For the real, back with another reaction video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Appreciate that one subscriber that I have gained so far. But we're going to keep up with this journey as a whole. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is, the subscribers that we pick up along the way. This is the starting point right here. We got 4 subscribers right now. And later on down the line, I say a year, maybe even 2, hopefully when we have a couple 100,000 subscribers, we can reflect back on this day. What is it? January the 10th, 2024, and just recollect and celebrate. Now, we're going to get into one of my favorite commentators' video, Black Conservative Perspective. I think, man, he comes with a lot of game. He points out a lot of hypocrisy, especially on the left side. Now, I ain't going to lie, he a little bit biased when it comes to Republicans. A little bit more biased than, I like. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be even in the middle, Like, I look at him as a news anchor, and I wish he would be a little bit more even in the middle. But for the most part, he be on point. So let's get into the video.
The rhetoric of Hitler and Mussolini to make a point about people coming across the border illegally.
South America, Africa, Asia. No mention of Europe in Mr. Trump's list. And he uses the term poisoning the blood of our country. Poisoning the blood of our country. If you were to open up a copy of Hitler.
Nah. He came into this one video because it's Charlamagne, the title is Charlamagne God trashes Biden, then declared Trump Antichrist. And I think we all know that the mainstream liberal media, they always go for the Antichrist, the Hitler comparison, and it's like ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the man was a good president. And I think that they don't want to admit it, but they know in the back of their mind that, man, that's the truth. Biden has been somewhat of a disappointment. I mean, you got to think, I'm going to say going back to the Bush administration, ever since the war, like, every president has came in the office with a challenge they face. You know what I'm saying? But as far as how Biden handling his border crisis, as far as it just seemed his whole campaign is just spiraling out of control and it's chaotic, with the inflation, with the decision he makes as far as global politics. It all seems like it doesn't have a solid plan. It's just, okay, action, reaction for action, reaction for action. So that's how I feel about Biden. I ain't going to sit here and act like the man just doing so horrible that, it ain't no change that happened. But I'm going to say it's more bad than good. Like I say, with the immigration situation, that's horrible. He gets a F for that, for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the agenda is as far as that goes. Global politics, the way he handled Ukraine, you know what I'm saying? The way he's handling the Israel-Gaza conflict, like, to me, you got to come at certain situations in certain ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, Russia's a global power. You know what I'm saying? You can't stop that. So the negotiation has to cipher around that type of conversation. Right now, we're dealing with a global power that's getting into it with, a smaller country. But at the same time, the United States of America has violated treaties. As far as not pushing NATO any further east than it was at the time in 1990. They say they done acquired 5 more countries east since then. So let's get into it.
Mein Kampf, you would find the Nazi leader describing the mixing of non-Germans with Germans as poisoning. The Jew, Hitler wrote, quote, poisons the blood of others.
As NBC News points out, the term blood poisoning was used by Hitler in his manifesto Mein Kampf.
He is a fascist, guys, that really we're dealing with a fight in our country between democracy and fascism. And Trump's telling you that. He doesn't really mind the Hitler comparison because at heart, he admires Hitler.
I think they're going to call him the Antichrist next. All right, guys. So I take no pleasure in making this video, but I got to take a victory lap on this video because I told you guys that as the mainstream liberal media continues to ratchet up their rhetoric against.
Now, he did say this months ago. He predicted this. Black conservative perspective. He predicted that the mainstream liberal media will be calling Trump Antichrist. You know, once everything else fell as far as the indictment, as far as trying to smear his name, because we all know he ain't got nothing but stronger in the polls. You know, because the people see the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, for anybody to sit and act like they don't see the monkey in the game, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody seen that curveball. Like, you come with the indictments, that don't work. Now, you trying to say that he was I forgot the damn word. But, you know, you basically come with the monkey wrench on every corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yeah, he was the leader of an insurrection. You know, that ain't work. You couldn't smear his name that way. He ain't do nothing but get stronger. And then now you come with, oh, man, he's Hitler. He's the Antichrist. You know, with no evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I feel like Trump policies are way stronger than Biden? You know, I don't feel like, man, one of them got real strong policies. You know, I think Vivian Ramaswamy got the best as far as policies I could see, you know, on paper. But at the same time, to paint Trump as the Antichrist and, like, that's bullshit. Like, come on, man. Let's stop it.
Trump, that eventually it was going to go from Hitler to the Antichrist. Okay, they're at the Hitler Nazi stage now, where they're just openly saying that Trump is Hitler, he's a Nazi. They're going to ratchet it up to Trump is the Antichrist.
Flashback.
What they're going to throw at Trump is going to get out of control. Like, for example, I told you guys multiple times, they're going to end up declaring that Trump is the Antichrist, right? This is what they're going to do. They're already calling him Hitler, right? They're comparing him to a Nazi. The Antichrist is next. And lo and behold, right, we have this tweet right here from this guy. The sick man, he says, this post by Trump crosses into blasphemous, approaching Antichrist-like. I plan to vote for him if he was a nominee, but now I realize the moral danger he presents to the church. I cannot vote for this man in good conscience. Yeah, so here we go. Okay, the Antichrist label is approaching, right? They're going to end up declaring that Trump is the Antichrist. I'm telling you, okay, it's going to pick up. It's going to be a thing, right? This is the next thing they're going to do to try to get the Christians not to vote for Trump. And one of the reasons why is because they're going to try to pull on the heartstrings of religious folks and say, well, you know, Trump is the Antichrist. And a vote against him is like voting against Christ, right? It's a vote against God, right? It's a vote against your religious beliefs, right? This is kind of what they're going to try to do, right? Because, you know, they all, you know, try to play up how, oh, well, you know, Christian nationalism is a threat to this country. And, you know, Trump has a lot of Christian nationalist support. So, again, it naturally would make sense for them to ratchet up the rhetoric to the next level and to try to play off of that by declaring that Trump is the Antichrist, okay? And, again, this is something that, in my opinion, was extremely predictable, okay? And, again, lo and behold, that is what's happening. As Charlamagne God went to CNN to discuss his recent comments about Joe Biden and why he's not feeling Joe Biden so much, why he might not vote for Joe Biden. But at the same time, he's showing his Trump derangement, in which, during his Trump deranged rant, he basically declares that, you know, Trump is the Antichrist. And I want to talk about that, but before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video.
Nah, I got a question. You know, do black people follow anybody that sounds romantic and loud enough blindly? You know, I'm black myself. I don't know. I mean, anybody that tells us something that we want to hear or something that we thought ourselves to be true, even though they come with no proof, that's just like Cat Williams. A lot what he said, I don't think is proven. You know what I'm saying? Then the fact that he went off the rails talking about he read 3,000 books in a year and he run a 4 flat and like, You know, if you think it's true, at the same time, you can question the man mental too. So do you feel like Charlamagne the God, I mean not Charlamagne the God, but do you feel like black people will be led and follow blindly when it comes to politics, when it comes to equality or the history of Black America, and as far as how certain people define it, you know, Dr. Umar with his antics, you know what I'm saying, and rants, and across the spectrum, you know what I'm saying, will we put our all behind a great message without proof? That's my question. I'm gonna speed it up here a little bit. Oh, here you go.
.com. That's trendwithpatriot.com.
But just ask you, Charlamagne. I mean, you made some waves in a recent interview saying that you regret endorsing Joe Biden. Why?
It's not that I regret endorsing Joe Biden. It's just that, I think that we all can get burned, by politicians. Because when I say endorsing, I put my name in my...
Well, I got a question. What did Biden promise to Black Americans? You know? Now let's look at some of the good, because I seen some things in there where he actually, I guess, followed through on a promise as far as the student loans. But then again, playing devil's advocate, that same student loan that he forgave, it falls back on the taxpayer. So is that fair? You know what I'm saying? Also, what else they was talking about with Biden? He signed some initiative. I think that's just bullshit paperwork to make it seem good. But he signed some initiative to advance African American as a community, but they don't never get into specifics. So what did Biden promise to Black people? You know what I'm saying? Like, what did he say officially out of his mouth? So I don't know.
Reputation on the line with my listeners, and when my listeners feel like he didn't deliver, they come back to me and they say, "Hey, man, you're the one who told us to vote for, Joe Biden. You're the one who told us to vote for Kamala Harris." So, I care about my listeners and what my listeners think, but I do want to say that, I think President Biden historically has been a lack of a better word, a shitty elected official. But Donald Trump is the end of democracy as we know it.
So you'd vote for Biden again?
I'm not saying either or, but I think since y'all ask answers, because that's what y'all doing on CNN, you like to ask answers, like you ask. What I said is you asked. Is if Donald Trump was Black, would he get locked up? You know the answer to that.
But I mean, right? I don't know so you are going to vote for Joe Biden?
I think it's simple and plain. If
that's that victim mentality. That's that victim mentality. Like, if that's the case, how many Black people are out on bond on murder charges? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't conform to that victim mentality shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, at the end of the day, everybody got a choice to wake up and build on opportunities, that come their way. You know what I'm saying? If this was 60, 70 years ago, where, you had laws in place to actually stop the progression of Black people, then I can understand that. But you got people of all various colors opening businesses every day, saving generational wealth. Why do you, if that's the case, why can the Africans come over here and be just as successful as every other immigrant as far as creating generational wealth for their families? But Black Americans that been over here their whole life, we can't seem to get lifted off the ground. But then the first thing we want to say, man, the white man holding us back, in 2024. Like, does every white person like Black people? Nope. Does every Black person like white people? Nope. Do you got some racist white people? Yeah. Do you got some racist Black people? Yes. It just is what it is. The history of this country and the strength of position of race as far as this country go, that segregation is gonna always, to me, be forever sustained and forever sold into this country roots. Is it prevalent as it was back then? Hell no. Nah. You know, at the end of the day, when you go to work or when you in partnership, well, different when you're in partnership, but when you go to work, like, is everybody gonna like you? That don't even matter. You going there to get paid. You know what I'm saying? You going there to accomplish your goals, whether it's to pay your bills or put a little bit of money up or try to get to the next stage. You know, when it comes to careers, to me, you should always try to have upper mobility. So let's get back to it.
Donald Trump is the end of democracy. We know it. I don't know what to tell people. And I know it sounds, when you say that now in 2024, you've heard it so much because every time, there's a Republican candidate, people say, oh, it's the end of democracy. He's the, people say, oh, he's the Antichrist. But this is one of those times where, it really actually positively.
That's why, despite the massive criminality and corruption of the Clintons, the Bidens, the Obamas, and all the rest,
it's true.
Wow. Again, the Trump derangement is off the charts, okay? So, like I told you guys, eventually it was going to escalate to Trump is the Antichrist. And then, lo and behold, you have Charlamagne the God go on CNN and basically say that, yes, Trump is the Antichrist. It is true. Usually when Republicans run, they say, oh, it's the end of democracy. They compare Republicans to the Antichrist or whatever. But in this case with Trump, it's actually true. So again, he's saying that Trump is the Antichrist. Now again, this comes as Charlamagne the God is being asked about his support for Biden, or lack of support now for Biden and Kamala, and feeling burned, okay? Feeling like he misled his followers by endorsing Joe Biden.
Now, one thing that Black Conservative Perspective said, I believe to be true, is whoever don't vote is going to help Trump. Like, if you're not voting, you definitely going to help Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's facts.
Biden and Kamala Harris, mainly because of identity politics, because Kamala Harris is a so-called black woman, right? This is why he endorsed the Biden administration. And the Biden administration has basically laid an egg, okay, in multiple areas. Charlamagne the God, he's a progressive. So he thinks that the Biden administration is not being woken up. That's why, as much as I do enjoy seeing Charlamagne the God realize that the Democrat Party sucks, okay, and that, hey, voting for, Biden was a bad decision. The only reason he's criticizing the Biden administration is because he feels like they haven't been woken up. They haven't been progressive enough. So it's not that Charlamagne the God has realized that, oh, wait, leftist policies don't work and leftist policies are bad, and that's the reason why the country is in bad shape. No. He wants more far-left policies. And it's not like he has really left the Democrat plantation because he's still out here spouting Democrat Party talking points, talking about how Trump is actually a threat to democracy. He's the end of democracy. Again, that's a straight Democrat Party talking point. Again, this is the same party that has contested every election they've lost since George Bush. They've done it in Congress. They essentially claimed that the 2016 election was stolen from Hillary Clinton because Trump and Vladimir Putin are butt buddies and Russian collusion. Okay, Joe Biden and the Democrats currently.
I think that a lot of people ignore that whole fiasco back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, they trying to come down on Trump for saying, oh man, the election rigged. The election was rigged. The election was rigged. But what about when Hillary was saying it? In the whole Democratic Party. I think I think both sides has played bias, which has come to hurt. When it comes to democracy, it has hurt this country, because now we got two sides going against each other, and we know both of them to be biased. At one point in time, we know both of them got that in them. So
are colluding to try to stop the Democrats from having a primary. Again, literally in states like Florida, North Carolina, some other states, they're essentially not allowing any Democrats on the ballot. Democrats are currently overthrowing democracy in their own primary, okay?
How y'all feel about that? Florida, North Carolina, I can't think of the other states he just said, but the Democrats, I think it's called the DRC or something like that, but basically the company, let's say company that runs the Democratic campaign and the primaries, they just ain't having no primaries in those states. Like, do y'all feel that's democracy? Do y'all feel that's fair? Me personally, I feel like that's some type of autocratic shit. That's not democracy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we based our opinion on election. We base our opinions on these debates. Like, to take that away from the general public, like, that's going in a whole nother field besides democracy.
They have repeatedly made claims that the election is stolen when they lose. There's also been violence and destruction behind these claims. There's been taxpayer dollars wasted behind these claims. Again, they've done it in Congress. This is things they've done throughout the years, but yet Charlamagne God is up here talking about how, well, I don't know about vote for Trump, or, I'm not sure if I can support Trump or not vote for Biden because Trump is a threat to democracy. He's the Antichrist.
Well, that's it for today. Reality for the real. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And my final thoughts, I feel both sides have played both sides of the fence. As far as pointing the finger at each other, as far as showing bias for their parties. Like, do I feel Trump is the Antichrist? Like, I feel like that's some left field bullshit, some delusional, off the wall shit. Like, come on, man. Do I feel like Biden is the worst president we ever seen? Well, I feel like Biden is incoherent at times. I feel like, it's somebody else other than him calling the shots in the White House. I do feel like that. As far as how this immigration situation is going, as far as how inflation has bubbled, as far as the housing crisis, I feel like, Biden administration hasn't, lived up to par. So I feel like this is a fair election, but I also feel like the Democrats are doing their best to interfere. I feel like some of the tactics that they're using is very authoritarian. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe.